I can type that in for Tyrese, or I could do the last 3 letters of his name. So that's an easy way to award a student at a time. Many of our staff members, many of our classroom teachers will use groups. So when you navigate, we call this the hamburger menu over here. So if you come over here to this side, you go to your groups right here. Any of your groups will automatically be up here at the top. And you also have the option to favorite other groups. So while these are collapsed right now, you do have the option to open these up, and it will show all user groups. So if, for example, I like to help out with the counseling group, I could favorite that group and it will be added automatically up to my favorites. This is particularly important because when you use your smartphone, you do have the option to use your groups to recognize students. However, please note that the ones that will show up are the ones that are either your groups or are favorited. So if you know that you will be recognizing perhaps the students, a whole class in your hallway, or if you're someone who, maybe you're a staff member in a special. So if you need to make sure that you have someone else's classes, things like that, maybe you sub in, make sure you favorite those groups. To add a group, you can hit this plus button over here. And then when you're ready, you can click right into one of the groups. So once we do that, when you're ready to award groups for points from the groups page, all you have to do is select a student or multiple students. In this case, we're going to select all students, except for Keith, who's not here today. And if, say you're starting class and everyone is ready to go, waiting patiently, ready to learn, you could say, I appreciate you being such high achievers today. This is a great way to start class. Thank you for being so ready to go, being such great achievers today. Let's get class started. And just like that, I've recognized all of those students. You can see that Keith wasn't here, or maybe Keith wasn't ready to go, and all of those students have automatically received those. You do have the option to include a comment, if you like. Oop, there we go. And you can put the comment in right there. So with that, you can also see the points that your students have. So you can go in and click on points details. This will show you for the entire class how many they have for the day, how many they have for the grading period, year to date, and their current balance. Sometimes schools use this for a variety of purposes. You probably have reports run on this. And so while staff members do not have access to all of the school-wide reports, there is access to this in terms of classroom groups, things like that. You can export this to a CSV, which is a formatted spreadsheet. You can print it, and then that way you have access to some of those details for your groups. So should you have a new student join your class, you can type in that student's name. Let's see, who am I missing here? So maybe Alicia. So we could type that in. Oh, maybe that's not the right student. You can add them very easily like that, just like you will from the other part of the screen. So whenever you type in a student's name, they pop up just like that. And you also have the option to edit a group. So if you go to settings, if it's your group, you will have this option right here for edit group and manage point sounds. And from there, you can make those changes. So say Henry's gone, you can edit those. You can change the name and things like that. Typically, if it's a synced group, if you're using Clever or ClassLink, there may be some limitations on this. So let's go back, save those changes. So I see we have a question here. Can teachers unfavorite groups that have been automatically uploaded to their system? There are some options on this. It depends on how you have been setting those up. You can mark groups as inactive and things like that. And if we have time, I'll show you that at the end. Typically, you do have the option to unfavorite it by deselecting it, if that makes sense. I hope that helps. So one other thing that I just wanted to mention is that you do have the option to toggle a student as not present. So if Brianna is not here today, we can mark her as not present. And maybe Jamal and Jasmine are not here as well. So we've got those students marked as not present. So if I want to recognize an entire class for being kind, I can do so and they won't be selected. So I can award those points, they're not selected. And then say Brianna comes back, maybe she had a doctor's appointment or something like that. We can then toggle her back and indicate that as well. Questions on how to create groups I see coming through. There are a couple of different ways to do this. If you are using Clever or ClassLink to automatically set up your school and your rostering information, that is something that will typically be pushed through depending on how your district sets up your sync. That's a one-way sync. It gets pushed from your school information system to us, and sometimes those will come through. If not, we have what we call a group importer. It's found on our support site, which you can always access using this help button up here in the top right corner. And you can set up a group. You have to use a specific format, but you can upload that to the system and use that to upload your groups very easily. Some of the groups will automatically be populated, grade level groups, things like that. But the group uploader, if you wanted to upload the soccer team or the chess club or things like that, that's a really great way to do it. And sometimes you'll just have other groups that you want to do, and you can, to create a group manually, you can use this plus button. So you start here and then add those students. So let's hop back into ELA and go from there. So as I mentioned, you do have the edit group option. You've got the point sounds button. You also have the group print. So this is really handy for classroom teachers who want to be able to have access to their roster, and they want to be able to scan the badge. A lot of times our schools will use this if they are going to have a sub. They'll leave that printed out for them. Sometimes particularly our elementary schools, will print this off and carry it with them throughout the school. If they're going down to the cafeteria or things like that, the clipboard may travel with the students through their day if they're going to specials. There is the QR code for each of the students, and then it also includes a group QR code. So if you're walking down the hallway with a group of students, you've got your clipboard with this printed out on it, and an admin walks by and says, you know, Ms. Wilson, your class is being so well behaved today, so respectful. I really want to recognize what good members of our community they're being. That admin, he or she can scan this QR code right here to make that easier. So that's something that many of our schools use. And again, you can access that from the group print option. You also, if your school is using the advanced referral system, you also can easily start a referral from the groups page. So you would select the student and then click on the referral button. You could choose a major or a minor referral. Let's go ahead and give a helpful feature of the groups page. Something that we've designed to make it easy for our classroom teachers is this menu right here. So here you can access stores, events, and raffles. So if I click on menu, I can click my store, and my items will automatically populate. This is a quick and easy way to sell items from the store. So perhaps you sell items on Fridays, or maybe once a month, or whatever it may be. You can do that from the same page that you use every day in the classroom. So if we had multiple students, say these three, wanted to purchase, how about a dress down day? We can go ahead and select that and then hit checkout. So say Tyrese says, you know what, I think I'm going to save my points for something else. We do have the option to remove him right there. They can either redeem it now or redeem it later. We'll go ahead and redeem now, and we can very easily purchase those items. So right then, those items have been purchased, and the students who made those purchases, their available points, which is what you see in this gray box in the corner, these are their available points to spend. Those have been reduced by the cost of that purchase. Now, you also have the option to register students for events. You can do my events and you can do school events. And this is something that you can, let's see if Caroline has any events. So this is something that you have the option to do. We will talk about how to set up events, and so we'll pop back to this, but you do have the option from here to do it. If you have an event, it populates here, you select the students, and we'll add. We'll show you how to do that in just a moment. You also have the option to do raffles. So if Caroline has a raffle, maybe she wants to add her students to it. Oops. So we would select all students who want to participate. We'll go through, we enter how many points that they would like to, or how many tickets they'd like to purchase for the raffle, and then you can do that right here. So you really can do a lot from the groups page. Our classroom teachers do tend to use this, as well as the combination of using their smartphones in class sometimes. They'll use that to scan or student ID badges or printed QR code labels throughout the day as they go about their teaching. Something else that I wanted to show you is the parent link communication. For parent communication, you can message individual parents, or you can message parents in a group. So you do have the option to do this here. So we could do ELA. We'll go ahead and say we're going to send it to my second period ELA. We could say projects are due Friday. Perhaps I have something that I want to send that to. You can see here who has a parent connected. Please note that all parent communication is through the app, but if they receive this, they'll actually get a notification that this is going to be, that they have a message. You do have the option for attachments, as I mentioned, and say you already know that Jamal submitted his, you can hit that and send that right there. You can also message an individual student's parent, and that's an option as well. You would just search for the student instead. Let's see. I do see questions about printing parent letters. Let's see if I can pull that up right here. Give me just a second. I think that the way that the question is, when we print parent letters, can we print them front and back with Spanish and English? I think that would probably be something you would have to do manually. To my knowledge, that's not set up right now, although that is something that we could check in with our support team and see if that's something that they've heard of before. We do have a lot of families that do use the Spanish version. At this time, that's the only language we offer. But it is nice for the parents. Much of the parent app is numbers. So once they have some context for this, we find that some of our non-native English speaking parents can navigate the app as long as they have some understanding of what they're looking at, much as all parents will need. So if we want to go ahead now, we'll go back to events. So we navigate to events over here in the menu. This main menu has a lot of the features you'll need. You can set up several different kinds of events. So you'll navigate over here to the top right corner to manage my events. And I can go ahead and add an event here. With that, we have 3 different types. We have redeem. Let's show you here. So we have the redeem, which is going to cost student points. You can use that for things like school dances, things of that nature. Qualify, where students have to have a certain number of points. Maybe you just want them to hit 100 points this week in order to participate. Others will use it for end of year celebrations, field day, things like that. And then finally, reward. So if you have something like where a parent comes to parent-teacher meetings, perhaps you have a health fair, things of that nature, you can actually reward students for attending. So with that, we'll go ahead and create an event. So redeem points, maybe we'll call it, let's see, how about school ice cream social? Oops. And then we could put in your description here. You would probably put more than this, but for the sake of time, we'll keep it easy. And then we'll just put 25 points, keep it easy there, and we'll schedule that for Friday. So now I can select if all students are eligible. These will have to be students that are in my groups because I'm a staff member. And that is something that you can decide if your school allows for student purchasing, you can allow that to show up. The showing up in list is if students, regardless of if they have student purchasing, should they be able to see it. So we'll go ahead and set that up so you can always come back and review it. You can edit it, things like that. And then when we go back to our groups and we click back into that same ELA, we can go ahead and look for my events. Oops, let's see, did I not schedule it? So you can go ahead and purchase, when events show up, they will be able to display it right here. So with that, you will have the option to send these for subs, but auth codes are something that we talk about a lot. With auth codes, these are going to allow you to set up your own phone, your own smartphone, and then you can also use them for substitutes. We see that a lot as well. The main ones that I want to show you today are staff auth code. So if you wanted to set up the PBIS Rewards app on your smartphone, and say you wanted to set up your own, or if you're an admin, if that happens to be the case, you can use this here as well. So you hit the staff auth code, write a code. So this